So the comics in here are really fun, or the illustrations. There's a mix of illustrations and comics. Were you a comic reader when you were a kid?
Peanuts, which is not your typical kind of, but my brother and I were both obsessed with Peanuts, and our library had, these big, Peanuts treasuries, and it's still like now, I'm 49, he's 52, we'll still say, remember when Linus made Lucy a cup of hot chocolate? Do you remember that one?
Yeah. What's funny is my son now is way into the Peanuts, and I'm buying this really nice collection year by year, the entire year.
Oh, you've got the
collector's things
that has an introduction.
Right.
Yeah, they're all wonderful, and that really, I have to say, other than like Linus making a cup of hot chocolate for Lucy, it also influenced my world view. And there's kind of there's a broken-hearted, they're sad, but they're also joyous. And I was so aware, I didn't know that I was going to get comics in this book, but I was so aware of wanting to capture that feeling of this is the way things are, and it breaks your heart. But it's also kind of funny that I got so much from Peanuts when I was a kid. I always felt like Charles Schulz was telling me the truth, and sometimes he would make me laugh as he was telling me the truth. There's one of my favorite years in that collected thing is 67, 68, and I think Mo Willems got to write the introduction for that. And I emailed Mo and I said, "Man, you got a great year." But when you read his introduction about how he used Peanuts it's to communicate and to make a place for himself in school by being able to draw those characters. It's like it influenced a whole not just artists. Mo's an artist, but I think it really shaped a lot of who I am, and I didn't realize that until I was working on this.
When I quit being a lawyer in 2002, I didn't want to just do the comic strip because I didn't know if the comic strip would last. So I did the comic strip 3 days a week, and then I worked at Charles Schulz's studio in Santa Rosa, California for the other 2 days. And I just basically did licensing for him and helped him with all that. But then the job morphed into writing the script for Happiness is a Warm Blanket, Charlie Brown, which was a special that was on Fox last Thanksgiving and the Thanksgiving before. And then I also helped out at the Charles Schulz Museum, which is next door to the studio, curating exhibits and the whole bit. Yeah, it's so cool. I got to meet him before he died, and he gave me some tips, and it was so great for me because Peanuts was really by far and away my biggest influence. Like you say, with the Karina character, when you mention it, and I think of this little thing she has on her dress and her hair, it's Lucy. But I didn't do that on purpose, but I see that is clearly Lucy. So he influenced everything that I do. He basically invents the modern comic strip, and he still influences me when I do a kid's book.
I'd say Harriman, Sparky Schulz, and Jeff Smith with Bone. They, to me, all have that kind of genius. It's to make that world believable, especially with so few characters. Absolutely. And about, 2 years before he died, I was sharing the same editor as Charles Schulz, and I asked him about that. And, I said, I know a few people think you should have a Pulitzer. Ted Geisel, Dr. Seuss has a Pulitzer. What you do, that world, what you were able to say. And he said, it'll never happen because people don't take comics that seriously. And it was interesting, and I wanted to say, we'll catch up. And then to follow on that, Chris Ware, again, the Building Stories thing, I interviewed him recently, and I'm trying to illustrate this interview, but it is, he said, as a grown man, the only comic strip he grew up reading that felt so believable, the world, the emotion, that he still considers literature as a grown-up, is Peanuts. And here's one. He said when he was 9 years old, when Charlie Brown Christmas was on, he used to go up the Linus speech and kiss the TV. And he says, and I still would do that if my child didn't look at me funny. But it's that to me, that's a kind of genius. Whether you're writing, if you can do it with prose and pictures, oh my gosh.